Hello, hello, hello again, students. SAT students, I should say. Welcome back to another live stream. The last of the 5 passages for the May 2022 SAT reading test. For those that are watching this live, hopefully you guys can see the live chat. If you can't, please make sure that you subscribe. That's going to be a key component here. Please give me a thumbs up if you are watching live. Just a thumbs up either below the video or in the live chat just to let me know that you're here, that you can hear, that you're here and that you can hear. And we will get going here. So May 2022, the US SAT reading section. We're going to do the 5th passage, talk a little bit about the strategy, the 20-minute drill. If you haven't seen the other 4 passages done, we've already done those. You can see it in the playlist. There's a video playlist in the description below this video. Please make sure that you do that. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up if you like what you see today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And you'll get notifications then. Turn on all notifications so that you have those going forward, right? So that you see those every time we post a new video. And let's see, anything else? Make sure that you download Star U if you haven't seen that. That's pinned to the top of the live chat. It's also in the video description below. Everything we discussed today is going to be, relatively quick relative to learning these strategies. So if you have questions about these strategies, you can do one of 2 things. You can either post those in the chat. Any questions you have, I'll try to answer while we go through this. Or you can post them below the video. I'll also try to answer those, or one of our teachers or tutors will answer those in the comments section if you're watching the recording. But if you want to go read and do more practice questions to get to a point where you feel really, really comfortable about this test, you could absolutely do that by logging in and creating your free Star U student account and creating lesson problems that look very similar to the ones that you're right to learn about these strategies, learn about how we're approaching this, all that good stuff. So again, if you're watching the live stream, give us a thumbs up in the live chat or just a hello so I know to address you if you guys have any questions. I'll try to do that while we're going through this. If you're watching the recording, give us a hello in the recording or a thumbs up. If you're in the live stream and you don't want to say anything, just give us a thumbs up below the video to let us know that you're ready to go. You're here and ready to go. And with that in mind, we will get started with SAT passage number 5. So guys, again, you'll remember from these previous videos, if you've seen the first 4 passages, we're doing what we call the 20-minute drill. Okay, it's really, Zach, welcome. It's really critical that we think about this, look at this. The 20-minute drill, or what we're going to try to accomplish here, is set the timer when you're practicing. Set your timer for 20 minutes if you're practicing 1 passage at a time. 20 minutes, right? 1 passage at a time. Okay? And the reason that is so critical is because as you're going through this, we've got a couple students that have already used this. It already seems like it's going pretty well for most students that have tried this already. It's so critical because it keeps your mind focused on the accuracy, but it doesn't completely take away the timing. And that's going to be really, really important that we still think about it, but it should not be the number one thing. As an example, okay, if you get 44, if you can prove that you can get 44 out of 52, and it takes you 65 minutes to do that right now, right? And it takes you, 75 minutes to get 52 out of 52, isn't it fair to say that if you're not already scoring this well, if you haven't scored that well on a real test before, then this is kind of a no-brainer, right? That if you can get 44 out of 52 in 65 minutes and you haven't already proven that you can do that on a real test, then this is a no-brainer. And that's what this 20-minute drill allows you to do. You set the timer for 20 minutes. You see exactly where you are right now in terms of what it's going to take to get the accuracy with the timing component. And let's say you get to 65 minutes and you have to guess on the final 8 questions. Well, guess what? You're going to get some of those guessing questions right. So at minimum, you're probably sitting at, 44? You're going to get 2 of the remaining 8 right just by pure statistics. Probably more like 3 if you pick one letter and go all the way down. I'm talking 46 out of 46 or 47, and you've only answered 44 of the questions. Does that make sense? Can everybody give me one more thumbs up if that makes sense in terms of how we're going to approach this? Right, you're going to see on my screen that the timer is going to be set for 20 minutes. That's not, long term, if you're trying to get to a perfect score in the reading section, that's obviously not what you want to do, but that might, even if you're already there, right, even if you're already getting a perfect score, that might be where you are today, right now. Prove that you can be accurate, because accuracy is so much more consistent than timing and trying to rush through this thing. Okay, does that all make sense? Okay, that's it. Great, guys. Glad that for those that are in the live chat, I'm glad that it's all making sense. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you have any questions prior to us starting, let me know. But this is going to be passage number 5. Final thing that I'll say is subscribe if you haven't. If you want to join our membership program, it's $3 a month, and it gives you access to a bunch of premium content. So you can do that. You can see that in the video, or in that video description below. If you become a silver member, you get like 40 extra videos that nobody else gets, that no other students get. So look into that if you're interested, if you like what you see today. So look at that membership program, and then I think that's it. Check that out, guys. Otherwise, hopefully you guys like what you see. Oh, final thing, we will have the writing and language section. We're going to cover that one as well. If you're on the live stream, we're going to cover that one tomorrow. We're going to have a math no calculator the next day. And for anybody that's watching the recordings, at that point, they probably are already posted, or they will be posted soon as recorded videos. Those other 2 sections, writing and language section 2 and math no calc section 3. All right, guys, so with all that in mind, let's get going here. 20 minutes on the clock, and our time starts now. Okay, cool. Everybody can see it. Okay, I can see it. All right, here we go. When it comes to photosynthesis, plants use sunlight power. Okay, so photosynthesis is mentioned. Isn't the only chemical reaction that occurs in the plant. Converting carbon dioxide during photosynthesis uses oxygen instead. Okay. So instead of right, usually plants take in carbon dioxide. That's why they help the planet, and they put out, their output is oxygen. But in certain cases, it sounds like because of this protein rubisco, sometimes they accidentally convert oxygen instead in photosynthesis, and that actually is a toxic use of that. So that's not good. These toxic chemicals in the gear. Photorespiration, so it's part of natural plant metabolism that recycles these toxins. Rice, so rice seems to have this, soybeans, wheat, as well as most fruit and vegetable crops. So pretty much everything, right, uses photorespiration. If you guys like biology, right, you've probably seen this in a biology class recently. Oh, okay. So photorespiration is not necessarily good, because these byproducts, right, to get rid of the byproducts, plants growth, they can slow the plant's growth by more than 30%, right? So it's using this energy that otherwise wouldn't be using in photosynthesis. Photorespiration requires a lot more energy, 30% more. Increase the amount of oxygen. Up to 50% of it. Okay, so 50%. So now in certain heat waves, right? Now instead of 30%, it's 50%. That slashes yields in the hotter and drier regions of the world, such as sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia, where food is most needed. For increased food production, international team. Okay, so right, if we see this, one sec, guys. Shut the door, my dog's gonna. So right, it's never easy. My dog needed to get out. It's never easy. Everybody can run into those problems, right? So if something's going wrong in the proctoring environment, jump back in, but don't let some little thing, right, like a student getting up or whatever, talking or chewing gum, whatever the student is doing next to you, don't let that affect you. So my dog is now out. That's good. Okay, so in desert climates, it's difficult to work with. Modification could boost the production of tobacco plants and speed recycling. Each protein. The lab rat of plants. So anytime there's quotes, please write this down. If you see something that's quotes like that, the chances of it showing up in the answer choices in some way, right? It might ask you directly about it, but in some way that's going to be very, like, what do they mean by lab rat? Again, if you've taken this enough and you've practiced enough, the reading section can be just as concrete, right, is just as rule-based as the math and the writing and language sections if you really know your strategies. it's more distinct, right? It's not like how do you use punctuation or what's this algebraic expression, but the formula for the reading section can be learned as well. Thumbs up if that makes sense, guys. If that's something new to you, thumbs up if that's something new. If the quotes, looking at quotes, something that's in quotes is really important. If that's new to you, give us a thumbs up. Speed of photo respiration. Pretty quickly. Maybe H protein. So H protein, right? Basically, what they're doing is they're giving the plants the H protein, and it's basically it's like you can't have too much of it, but it's taking away some of the negative effects of photorespiration in terms of energy use. Only in the leaves, this increases plant growth, faster cycle time. Proof of concept. So tobacco's easily genetically engineer, only has 4-month life cycle. That's interesting. Several trials in one field season. This is going to be really easy. I'll tell you why, guys. This is going to be really easy questions, guaranteed. The science section, even if you're not interested in this, I like this. This is really cool. But even if you're not interested in this, does everybody see how the fifth passage, and generally the third passage is like this as well, is very, very, like, while it's difficult to read if you don't like science, it's also like all of these terms are so distinct, right? Like H protein, if that comes up, lab rats, photorespiration, those are terms that you never hear otherwise. And so every paragraph is basically using a term that you would never otherwise hear. So if you can just remember where the terms happen and what they mean in relation to this photorespiration, it should be like boom, 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 boom on the questions, which make those very quick. Joshua, what's going on? Welcome. Does that all make sense? Team engineer the value using DNA from a close relative or potato. Leaf tissue. Okay, so they boosted the H protein of tobacco using using a potato plant, right? 2 years of field trials, increasing H protein yields, 27 to 47%. Okay, so basically this can offset 27 to 47% versus was it 30 to 50% of energy use? This can basically offset any photorespiration, any of the harmful toxins. This can offset. Does everybody see that? Did everybody get that same message from this info? Any questions, guys, so far? Again, while you're reading, please make sure that you are staying really, really narrowly focused on understanding the passage. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the... Whoops. Is there 41 here? Is there 41? Am I missing something? The answer to the previous question. Wait, what? Am I crazy? What happened here? Is there a previous question? I don't know that's weird. I don't know if that's, I'm going to keep moving on, okay? I don't know what's happening. Maybe that's a bad copy. I'm just using a bad copy of this. But just move on, right? If something happens, I don't know. As used in line 2, power. Comes to photosynthesis, plants use sunlight to power, chemical to activate, authorize, no, engineer to activate, right? To get it going. This should be pretty straightforward. Which statement about the production of toxins resulting from Rubisco's conversation? Conversion of oxygen. No, right? Does everybody see on this one? So it's not the presence of toxins in the plants results in greater reduction in the plant growth. No. The toxins create the need for photorespiration. As temperatures decrease, photorespiration less. Cycles, no. As environmental temperatures decrease, the amount of toxins produced in the plants decreases. Yeah, because as it got up, This is reverse psychology on number 44 because they talked about how, yeah, see on 44, which choice provides the best evidence. It was saying that as they increased, right, it should be in like lines 20 through 25. Does everybody see that, guys, on 40? Was it 45? Yeah, this is reverse psychology because they actually talked about it the other way. They said as it increased, temperatures increased, the amount of energy needed increased. And on 44, they just said decrease, decrease, but that's just a trend, right? So that's the scientific question. I'm 95% sure it's D and C there. It just went reversed. Thumbs up, guys, if that makes sense. Everybody see that? Just feel okay with that idea? The author says that he and the other researchers translated this idea from the lab to the field. He most likely means that they applied a concept, predicted variable, study results based to account for different. Applied a concept to a new environment, maybe. Maybe. Let's see. Did variable study results. No, it wasn't predicted, right? They actually did it in the field, adjusted. No, didn't adjust. They didn't change anything. They just applied the concept from the lab to the field. I think that should be right. Let's see. Has indicates the use of solanum. That's the potatoes, right? This is such a unique word, right? Potatoes, I think that we should be able to come up with reduce the amounts of glycogen produced in tobacco plants by slowing foot. Maybe B. It's definitely not this. The potato plants was the H protein at the end, confirm whether boosting production. Nope, it was the H protein that they used. I think it's B. You'll see, though, guys, a really, really helpful strategy on reading is to go through all the answers. Give yourself a check mark, maybe, if you think, yeah, that generally sounds pretty good. If it doesn't sound good at all, obviously move on from it. The main purpose of the last paragraph, let me go back here. Boosting production of a single protein of thousands, but after 2 years. Okay, so it's just proof, right? It was a proof point. Express research sustained surprise about a finding, maybe. That's right, the evolution of researchers' confidence and hypothesis, maybe that. Highlight the time-consuming nature of a project. No, time-consuming is generally thought of, relatively speaking, it's thought of negatively, I think. Endorse the simplification of a technique. No, it's not simplification. Let's see, expression. It's not sustained, guys. So this is really important. This word sustained, A, sounds okay, but it's not sustained surprise. It's after 2 years there is a surprise. Or no, initially there's a surprise, but after 2 years there's no more surprise because it just turns out to be true. So when you're down to 2 answer choices, look for specific tone words because sustained means something very defined, right? And if that's not the right answer, then we have to move on because if the word sustained doesn't fit, it doesn't matter what the rest of the answer choice says. Information from the best supports which data in figure 1 regarding the leaf area of H protein increase. So H protein, when the leaf size increased, increased mean plant dry weight of controlled. Looks like G46. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if this control group G20 must just be. Oh, whoops. Here we go. H protein increase. G46 is the most. So it looks like that would maybe make it too much. Okay, so that might make it too much. Yeah, remember how they talked about this, guys, for number 49? Remember they talked about how if they did too much, right, of the H proteins, I think it's B here, at a faster rate. No, they damaged them. I think it's B for 49 because they talked about how if there was too much H protein, it actually was a bad thing. And they talk about that specifically. Let's see. Carefully control the quantity. We engineered too much in all plants was harmful. So it's like 50 to 55, somewhere in that range. Too much of it. 51 to 53, I think, for number 50. Everybody remember that for the most part. Based on figure 2, the researcher's most successful attempt to boost tobacco yield resulted in a mean dry weight that was approximately which percentage of the dry weight of control. The most successful in figure 2, so the most successful was at 140. This is at 100, 100. the mean of those two looks like 125 and maybe like 145. I don't know, something like that. So maybe say it's C because it's the most. Maybe I don't know. Based on the passage in figure 2, which strand of H protein has data that are the furthest from the results presented in the jump to line 60. So the furthest, that was the 76 through 79. I think that's when they're talking about 27 to 47% jump. Could probably be figure 2. That one goes down. Yeah, so it's a jump. So it's got to be that one. Because they talk about it increasing, I think it's C. Then 42, does anybody see this one? Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? I don't know if that's the, so if you guys can, let's just see if we can figure this one out. Because sometimes when you look at the answer choices, this can actually be weirdly helpful. Let's see, by researchers, oxygen conversion during photorespiration. Previous question, is there like a previous... Does everybody see this one? Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, this looks like just a bad. So somebody, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Hat trick there. Thanks in the comments. 42 is supposed to say over the course of the passage, the main focus shifts from a discussion of plants' use of sunlight and photosynthesis. No, it's about photorespiration. Naturally occurring chemical plants. Maybe B. Impact of climate on crop yield. No, climate was just barely mentioned. Proteins essential to the removal of toxins in plants. No, it's got to be B. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let's stop there. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of time back if that's okay with you guys. So that one basically, we have 4:20 left on the clock, but let's just say that one took us 15 minutes. Everybody okay with that? Can you guys give me a thumbs up or say that's okay? Yeah, and Hatrick, thanks so much for commenting. If anybody's wondering how I got the answer there for 4, how I got the question for 42, great comment there. Thank you. This must be a bad copy of this test. But the question was for number 42, guys. If you guys want to write this in, if you have any questions, you guys might have a better copy than I do. But the question was, over the course of the passage, this is for number 42. Over the course of the passage, forget about what this says. It's just a bad copy. Over the course of the passage, the main focus, right, of the passage shifts from the discussion of, and I'm pretty sure it's B, right? It's the naturally occurring with photorespiration, talk about photosynthesis. So that's how we got with that. So really appreciate the comment. Otherwise, that would have been just a guess. Having said that, guys, on 42, you could have maybe taken a shot at it, right? I mean, there were some. I would even say, does everybody see this? That if you're confused, let me just talk about this for 1 second, because while I really appreciate the question, probably wouldn't have been able to discuss too much. Some of these didn't make any sense, right? So to an analysis of previous attempts by researchers, does everybody see that A has nothing to do with it? So, I mean, this is the SAT reading section for SAT, but it's the 5th passage, which is the natural science passage, so there are some science. Does everybody see how A, like, you can, even without the question itself, you can kind of tell, like, the impact of climate. That's very, very briefly mentioned when they talk about the Sahara Desert. It can't be that. I knew that right away. Proteins essential to the removal of toxins in plants. How these proteins important. Photosynthesis. It's not about photosynthesis. So amazingly, right? Even if you guys didn't know, if you really thought about that, can everybody give me a thumbs up if you feel comfortable with that idea? That even if you didn't know what the question was for 42, if you really think about the main idea and just look at the answer choices. Right, the whole part of this was about toxins related to photorespiration, not photosynthesis. So the moment they bring up photosynthesis, that's got to be removed. That's the wrong answer, because that's not what the whole thing is really about, photorespiration, but definitely not the second part with the H proteins. The impact of climate, it's talked about 1 millisecond. That's not what the first part of this passage is talking about, right? And it's not the previous attempts, because this is the author is saying that it's right. The 2 years they're explaining when it first started with these experiments, and then 2 years later they concluded, yes, this really does work. Does that make sense, everybody? So again, there was some really good takeaways from that video. It's probably the best video we did of the 5, and here's why. there were distractions, right? You guys saw my dog got up in the middle of it. I had to get up. That's going to happen. So distractions can happen on the reading test. Avoiding those as much as you can are really important. Number two, that was probably the best job I did of the 5 passages in terms of eliminating answer choices and trying to walk you guys through why I was eliminating. Whenever you're down to 2 answers, right? Everybody always comes to us and says, well, it's one or the other. And that's not to say that I didn't miss one of these, but that was the passage I felt the best on of the 5 so far, and I haven't missed a question yet. So I'm hoping that we got 52 out of 52. We're over time for sure, but the idea that there are 2 answer choices that are correct is just wrong. That is not the mindset to take. I've been doing this for a long, long time, not including all of the students that we've worked with on YouTube. I have worked with 2,500 students individually through our classroom programs, right? So a lot of students. In all the time that I've been doing this, there's only been one single question on any SAT or ACT that has been admitted to be wrong by the College Board or by the ACT. One out of thousands and thousands. So if you go into the test thinking that there's 2 correct answers, you are going to be mistaken. It's not. Instead, go in thinking there's one right answer. So how am I going to find that one right answer? And the easiest way to do that, and 48 is a great example of this. 48 is one that, again, why I thought this was the best of the 5 passage videos that we did, is if you look at this word sustained, that is really the only thing about 48 that I didn't like, right? Express a researcher's surprise about a finding. That was the last 2 paragraphs, if you remember. But it wasn't sustained surprise. Sustained means that it's ongoing, but the specific thing was that after seeing all these results for 2 years, there was no more surprise because they was just facts based on the experiments. So sustained doesn't make sense in that context. Does that make sense? As a thumbs up. That when you're down to 2 answer choices, and on 48 I was down to A and B, look for individual words, 1 word maybe, or 2 words in one of the 2 answer choices that either makes that answer choice correct, right? If it was sustained surprise, they'd say, I was surprised for 3 years, right? That's sustained surprise. Or it makes it incorrect. Does that all make sense, guys? Any questions on that? Because we get a lot of questions from students that say, like, how do I choose between the final 2 answers? And the best explanation that I can give for that is just to make sure that you're looking for individual words. There are always 2 answer choices that don't really make sense. Everybody good with that? Thumbs up in the chat section or thumbs up below the video. It's 2. If you really look, there are 2 answer choices that don't. If you have your own main idea, if you've read the passage, 2 of them will be very clearly wrong. And then the other 2 that are closely related, especially on hard questions, will typically rely on just 1 word that doesn't make sense in the context. And if you focus on that, all of a sudden you will see your score jump from, let's say, 40 out of 52 to 47, 48 out of 52, solely because you're eliminating you're content, you are successful with the idea that there are not 2 answer choices. There is 1 correct answer. So where is the word in the incorrect answer choice that makes me eliminate that one? And if you go in with that mindset, a question like 48 that looks very similar, 2 answer choices that look very similar, the word sustained is the only word that truly eliminates. And I say all this, I really hope I got 48 right. If anybody has the answers right now, we're going to go through them in a second, but hopefully 48 is right. I'm going to say all this, and then 48 is going to be wrong. But I really don't think it was sustained surprise, right? So hopefully 48 is B, but again, that's where we're looking. Is that cool? Everybody good with that idea? So with that in mind, let's pull up the answers, starting with 42. If you're just here to see the answers and you haven't seen the rest of the video, please know that 42 was this is the wrong test form, or I got a bad copy of the test something, so 42 is actually a different question asking about the change in the 2 passages. Let's see here. 2022 reading. Number do we start? 40. We started with 42. I'm an idiot. Okay, 42. So number 42 is B. Great. Good. It felt like that one was really easy, especially after I thought it wasn't that hard even if we didn't have the question, but it's very easy, I think, when we did have the question. 43 was A. That was pretty straightforward. 44 was D. 45 was C. 46 A, B, B. 46 A, B, B. 48 was B, thankfully, after all that. 49 was B. 50 was C. 51 was C. 52 was C. Guys, so again, If you want to know how to be accurate and you watch those 5 videos, that's right there how you get 52 out of 52. Okay, and if you watch the 5 videos, and this is something that this is why I love doing these for SAT reading, right? That's how you get 52 out of 52. But you'll notice that if you add up all of our times for each of the passages, that took us 75 minutes to get through, right? Now, was I teaching the rest of the way? Is it fair to say that I could have reduced it down to 65 minutes if I wasn't talking? Probably. But for right now, for me doing that video that way, it took me 75 minutes to get 52 questions right? So 75 minutes. If you can prove to yourself that you can complete this in 75 minutes, even though you only get 65 minutes, but you get 52 out of 52, you will be astounded at how consistent your score will be on the reading section. Maybe you don't get 52 out of 52. Maybe on the final passage, you have to answer just a few of those line number questions and you get 44 out of 52, and then you have to guess on the final 8. But that's still like a consistency, from a consistency standpoint, that's still 44 plus 2 more. That's 46 or 47 out of 52. And that's something that you will be able to mimic every time you sit down to take the test. And all of a sudden, where the reading section for most students is very volatile, right? It's very up and down. How many of you guys, thumbs up, guys, if that's how you feel about the reading section? You have a great section and then you have a bad section, right, back and forth. If you do it this way and you practice this way, you will be amazed at how consistent you can be with your reading score. Regardless of how hard the passages are or how easy the passages are, it just always stays the same, because instead of focusing on the 65 minutes, what's my time, you're thinking instead, how do I get this next question right? What is it about the answer choices that makes one wrong versus one right? And you're focused on the answers and accuracy far more than you're focused on, how much time do I have left? What's my score going to be? The score will take care of itself if you are accurate, right? Think about it that way. You never go into a school test thinking, I got to get a certain percentage. You think, this is how many questions I have. I got to get them all right if I want to get 100, right? I got to get them all right. You're thinking about the accuracy of the questions, not about the percentage probably. I got to get an A, right? That's going to be determined by the number of questions you answer, just like on the SAT. Okay, guys, good question. And again, if anybody has any questions finishing up here, because we're going to try to keep this video relatively, right around 30 minutes, but it is the last one of the reading series, so I'm happy to answer a few questions related to reading. If you have any, go ahead and post those in the live chat, and I'll answer them now. How long do you recommend reading the passages? If you are a phenomenal reader, you can probably get done with the passages and really understand them in 5 minutes, which gives you 8 minutes for the questions. That's if you are an exceptional reader. My preference for most students is that you focus on reading for about 6.5 minutes, 6.5 minutes reading. And I promise you again that if you do that, you will be amazed at how accurate you can be if you spend 6.5 minutes reading, right? And then you go to the questions. You can see it on that. If you don't believe me, just go back to that passage that we just did in particular, where 5 out of 11 questions, 5 out of the 11 didn't require any second thought, didn't require me to go back even, because I just remembered what they said about that particular term, like H proteins, right? The increase, the one about the climate going up in the desert, right? So it decreases. Those are questions you don't have to go back to, because it's only 75 lines of double-spaced text, right? It's 2 columns. If you're really reading for 6.5 minutes, you will be very, very pleased with how much you retain, how much knowledge you retain when you get to the questions. And then if you use the answer choices to your ability, right? Use the answers. It's a great advantage to having a multiple choice test. Rather than immediately thinking when you read the question, oh no, I don't remember that at all. Your brain will remember it. Use the answer choices to help you remember what you read, right? So it's my recommendation that you read the question always. You look to eliminate 2 answers first and foremost before you ever think about going back to the passage. Only after you've eliminated 2 answers, right? Because there's 2 pretty obvious elimination answers always for every question. Only after that should you go back to the passage. Unless, of course, it's one of those like inline, whatever this word nearly means, then go back, of course, right? To refresh your memory. But if it's just a general question about the main idea, just think back to what your main idea is and then eliminate, and then you can go back if you're still stuck between the final 2 answers. But again, 2 answer choices on every single SAT reading question should be eliminated without having to go back if you've read it properly. Does that make sense? Thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, any other questions before we sign off? Maybe take one or two more. If you don't have any, I hope if there's no others, we'll sign off here in just a second. But hopefully these videos have been helpful in terms of how you prepare for the reading section. These are really the first videos that we've done. You will see, in fact, I can even post this. We have a pretty extensive playlist of all of our SAT reading videos, just in terms of tips and tricks. You guys can see this here. SAT reading playlist. So this is all of our SAT videos, SAT reading videos, I should say. That's now posted in the live chat. It's also posted, I think it's posted in the description below. But if you click that, you can see all of our SAT reading videos. This is the first one where we've done kind of individual passage explanation, so I'm thrilled that we got a chance to do that before the next SAT. If you have any questions that you can't think of right now for the live watchers, if you have any questions going forward for the students that are watching this recorded, always be okay pausing the video, posting those questions, and then continue to go on. And usually one of our teachers or tutors will respond to those questions within, let's say, 24 or 48 hours. All right? Guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, especially if you liked what you saw. Look into that membership program if you want even more exclusive content of me teaching some of this even more in depth than what we did today. And we also have question and answers as part of that member program where you can ask direct questions to me specifically. So look out for that if you're interested, if you like the channel. Subscribe at the very least. That's obviously free. Otherwise, we hope to see you for the next live stream. For everybody that's watching live, that'll actually be tomorrow for the SAT May 2022 Writing and Language section. The following day, we'll do the live stream for the Math No Calc section. If you're watching the recorded version of this, then they're probably already posted on the channel, so you can go check those out right now. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. I'm Chase with Star Tutors, and we will see you next time. Thanks, guys.